All right, welcome back to another episode of The Potential Project, where we find out what it takes to unlock your full potential in every area of life. Welcome back to another Tuesday, guys. I'm excited to talk about today's topic because it gets away from the the physical things with your health, and we're going to go a little bit psychological today. Pardon my stuttering there, but we're going to talk a little bit about the brain, a little bit about habits, and things like that. So at the time of this recording, it is the week of Thanksgiving, which means the holidays are coming up. We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got New Year's. It's a time of gathering with family, travel, food, alcohol, snacks, good times, presents. It's a lot of fun. And I want everyone to participate in these things. I'm not here to say screw the screw the presents and screw the cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning. Um, I'm not here to be Mr. Scrooge McDuck, but what I am here to do is hopefully get you prepped for when you do decide to commit to yourself, whether it be after the New Year's and or beforehand. But when you decide to commit to yourself for your health, right? Whether that be going and starting at the gym or adjusting what you're eating. I don't like the word diet, but maybe tuning up, your selection of foods within your household and what you're putting in your mouth. Any way, shape, or form that you decide to improve on your health, there's going to be some valuable tips today on how to stick with it and actually follow through. And the topic of today's talk is really why people struggle to stick to new health habits, right? And I'm going to give you eight examples of situations that pop up to hold us back, and then things that we can do to overcome those and just bring light to these circumstances because maybe you've never talked about it before, but it's something that you've experienced in your life and in your attempt to do something new with your health, and maybe we can get ahead of that, right? Because if it's November now and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna rock out with the holidays. I'm gonna have a busy schedule. I'm not worrying about what I'm eating. That's fine, whatever, right? I still think you can start when it's busy. I think that's the best time to do it, and I also think you don't have to be a glutton during the holidays and get hammered drunk and eat all the desserts. You can enjoy yourself in moderation. So let's break down this list, guys. So number one is the reason why people struggle to stick to new health habits. Again, we're going psychological today. Again, I'm going to break down eight different scenarios and talk about this, right? So, number one is the lack of proper structure and guidance. So, point blank, period, you need to have a structure that is planned out, it's got proven results, and there's a step by step blueprint, so to speak, right? You can't just wing it when it comes to improving your health. And we're talking about health building here. You can plug and play anything you want, whether it's your fitness routine, whether it's what you're eating, whether it's eliminating toxins from your life. All of these things go into improving your health overall. And we're just going to again talk about the psychological thing. So if what you're trying to do doesn't have a structured plan with proven results, it's going to be kind of hard to get there, right? Because if there's a forest and there's you don't know where to go and you don't know where the exit of the other side of the forest is, you're going to be lost in there. You're going to be turning left, right. Same thing with a maze, right? Let's say you're in a corn maze, but if someone gave you a turn by turn direction to get from one end to the other, well, then all you have to do is follow the turns, and lo and behold, you're going to be on the other end and out of that maze. Well, it's the same thing with your health, right? If you're trying to build strength and lose weight and you have no idea what to do that, well, the first thing would be is to seek some guidance from a trained professional or someone who has proven the results time and time again. So that means if you find a trainer, a coach, an online mentor, or something like that who has done the thing that you're looking for time and time again with other people just like you, chances are they're going to be able to help you in some way, right? So that's the first part. So having that clear roadmap, it eliminates the guesswork. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I try this? No, right? Let's do this. Let's follow this path. And I've showed you that, we've done this with hundreds of other people. Let's just do these steps tweak it as we go because everyone's an individual, and let's get to the other side, right? And that's going to be the path of least resistance. Now, you could do it other ways. You could throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks and what works for you and what doesn't. But then that cycle of trial and error, it just gets old, and then you're going to burn yourself out pretty quickly. And that's the whole point in today's talk. It's we all know what we want. We all know an idea of how to get there, but it's that we don't stick with these things. And today is going to be 8 different ways of why we don't typically stick with them, right? We know what we need to do essentially. We know that we need to be consistent. We know certain steps to get us there, but why don't we have the result? Why aren't we all rich? Why aren't we all super healthy? Why aren't we all in great relationships? Well, here's 8 reasons why. All right. And you can really use this in any area of life. Brings us to number 2, which is the belief in the process or the lack thereof belief. If you have never achieved the result, it's going to be quite hard to believing in it, right? If you haven't ever been fit and you want to have a 6 pack and you're 50 pounds overweight, well, that's going to create some self doubt because you don't even know what it tastes like. You don't know what it feels like to get there. You hear about times where someone is a billionaire and they lost all their money for some reason, and then in a short time they're a billionaire again. Well, they've been there. They know what it tastes like. They know the processes that it took to get there. There was even a trainer. I don't know if he's still doing this, but a couple of years ago, he would gain weight and then he would lose the weight with his clients and get them to the spot that they wanted to be at. Now, that's someone who's been there. He can put the weight back on and he knows the exact steps that it took to have lost weight before, and he does it again. So that's where self-limiting beliefs come into play, right? Can I really do this? That's defeating. And if you're in your head and you're all alone and you don't have that structure and guidance to work towards, you're going to be sitting there like, I've never been there before. I've never had energy. I've never been at this weight. I've never had the 6 pack. I've never been able to do the pull up. Don't know what that's like. Can I even really do this? Is it worth it? Right. And that's the cycle that we're trying to get out of. We're trying to eliminate that negative self-talk in our head and break through that. Right. So that's why there's a power in small wins. Small wins will build your belief systems and it builds momentum. Right? You're allowed to go from drinking 1 glass of water to 2 a day. You're allowed to never work out before and go for a walk twice a week. You're allowed to just build up, right? There's a story that I've talked about in another podcast before, but there was this person wanted to get started on their fitness journey, and they started by just driving to the gym, sitting in the parking lot, and leaving. And then they would drive to the gym, sit into the parking lot, and then walk in. And then they did that, and then they did 5 minutes of exercise. And now this is an extreme case, but you see where I'm getting at, right? They built up their small wins to eventually doing 3 to 4 1-hour workouts a week. And then they were feeling great and loving the process. But they didn't say from day one, hey, we're going to do 5 days a week. They're going to be all an hour long. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, record this. I'm going to track my macros and do a million different things. That's too much, right? When you have no belief, when you've never been there before, when you think it's so far-fetched to achieve that level of health or success, how could you ever have this audacious goal and just be like, I'm here now and there's a huge gap, right? You got to get to that next rung in the ladder. And whatever that is for you, that's okay, right? We just got to find those small wins. This brings us to number 3, is emotions are overriding your consistency. And honestly, I was ready to do the whole podcast on just number 3 today, but I broke it up into other steps. This is a big problem. You see, we know, again, that we need to be consistent with our daily tasks, with our habits, with our things that we've set out to do. Like, you can go online. If you're like, how do I lose weight? I'm a 30-year-old male. I want to lose 10 pounds. This is my lifestyle. You can go on ChatGPT and it's going to pop out some ideas of what you can do to lose weight. Some pretty good ideas. Now, what's the holdup between what ChatGPT is telling you and the result? And that's your emotions, right? You've probably been to a gym before. You've had a coach before, right? We've seeked guidance on YouTube and on Google. Why haven't we gotten there and stayed with it? It's because we're not consistent. I've been training myself for like 10 years consistently. Some days I don't train, some days, things happen, you eat a bad meal, whatever. But overall, for 10 years, I've been training. That leads for me to have an optimal, I feel good, right? My joints feel good. I'm at a healthy weight. Like all those things have happened because I've been doing it for a long time. So how are our emotions screwing us? Well, when we find the plan and when we find the detailed approach, the proven approach, we allow how we're feeling to be the determinant of how the program goes. And I ask people this too much. I say, "How are you feeling?" a lot. Hey, how you feeling? Mainly because I want to get feedback on if they're sore, if they're tired, and how we can gauge, how we're going to run that workout. But overall, your feelings don't matter, right? Are you following the protocol? Are you following the program? And if not, there's your answer, right? So if you are, if we're again, we'll just stay on the health focus right now. If you're trying to lose weight and you found the coach, right? They have the procedure. They've got the track record, right? You're starting to figure out the small wins and the small things that you can do to build the momentum. And they say, hey, you know what? I want you to get 10,000 steps a day. That's a made up number, whatever. Who knows the science behind it really? But the more walking, the better, right? They say, I want you to get 10,000 steps every single day this week, and I want you to track it. And the week goes by, and they're like, how'd you do? Well, I'm feeling pretty good, but I mean, I think I did all right. It's like, no, did you hit the 10,000 number or not? Right? Oh, you got 7,000 on Monday. You got 8 on Tuesday. You got 3,000 on Wednesday. And then you can see those numbers and you can see, hey, what happened on Wednesday? Well, I had a ton of meetings and I got a flat tire and XYZ happened. Boom, that gives us data and that gives us a thing that we can adjust without our emotions and we can make an adjustment to progress, right? It's not how are you feeling about the program, it's how closely are you following the program? If it's like, all right, you need to get 2 workouts in a week, you need to drink half your body weight in ounces of water every day, and I want you to track how many grams of added sugar you're doing, right? Like, let's say you're at that point in your journey and you're doing all of that. Well, then guess what? You're going to know how to make the adjustments. You're going to be building momentum because you're like, hey, I did it. I hit my 10,000 steps. That's a win mentally, building confidence, building momentum. And you're getting closer to the goal because you're doing the work that has been proven to get you there. So now you're doing 3 habits on a weekly basis pretty consistently. And then guess what happens? Those become easy, right? The habits that you once thought were hard because you're eliminating your emotions become easy. And now you're doing them daily with not much effort, and you can add another habit to that. Now from 3, you have 4 habits that are for the positive and going to get you a little bit closer to your goal, which is really, really, really how you start to build some momentum and actually see results faster than you thought it was going to take, right? Which brings us to number 4, the myth of motivation, right? Motivation is cool. If you wanted to, you can pop on a podcast, you can go on Instagram, you can go on Google and get really hyped up, right? You have this one person who's a fiery podcaster and they really bring the heat every time you listen to them. So Monday morning, you listen to the podcast, you're like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing what I got to do today. And you have a great day. Well, guess what? That's not going to be every day. You're not going to feel as well. You might get fired from your job. You get sick. Things happen in life. And you're not always going to have that little clip, that motivation to get you going every single day. So motivation's fleeting, but habits and discipline are not. That's why we're building off of each of these numbers. So, right, when we eliminate our emotions and we're sticking to the plan, well, then we don't even need motivation because motivation is an emotional feeling, right? If you feel like it or not, you have a good feeling, you have high energy because you're motivated. Well, forget that because I'm sticking to the plan and eliminating my emotions. And I wanted to say this about the other point of stacking those habits. The best part about all of that is the more things you have to measure, like the more habits that you're doing and you have data from them, the easier it is to win, right? Because let's say you do one habit and you're just drinking water, right? That's going to be really hard to determine your overall well being if all we're looking at is data from how much water you're drinking. But, a couple months go by, a couple years go by, and now you have 12, 13, 14 habits that you're doing on a daily basis and keeping track of, like, hey, you're drinking water, you're exercising a certain amount, you're hitting your macros, you're getting a certain amount of sleep. Like we start to really, really, really stack these health building habits. Now, if you have 12 or 13 of them and we're tracking those, the more things we're tracking, the easier it is to win. And now we see that, oh, our sleep's slacking a little bit. Let's just focus on that because water, exercise, and all those other things are doing well. So it's compounded in the fact of you're building momentum because you're taking these small little things and stacking them, which builds your belief. And then by the time that happens, you will have acquired 10, 20 habits that will allow you to win even faster. So this might take a year, 2 years, 5 years, but over the course of that time, you'll have such compound interest on your momentum, in your belief, and in the stuff that we can track, leading you to excellent results and being able to maintain those results, which is amazing, right? I hope that made sense, right? How the compound interest factor of this comes into play. Number 5 is leading us into unrealistic expectations. So this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about before, where you are gung ho to start, you got the plan, and you're like, I know I'm probably 100 pounds overweight. And all you can think about is being 100 pounds lighter. You want to see the six pack, you want to go on the beach, be confident. You want to do all of these things so badly. You've been desiring it for years. And the hardest thing to do is not think about that, but think about things that we can tie into that first step, right? How can we tie our focus on the extra glass of water or the extra steps throughout the week and not worry about the 100 pounds right now? Like, yes, you can have that in hindsight and you should set big goals, but what are we doing to get there? Are we just saying, oh my God, my expectation is that in 3 months, the 100 pounds is going to be gone and everything's going to be great. I have this plan. I paid for this coach and it's going to happen this time, right? They said set big goals. You should, right? But you need to focus on your progress, right? What type of momentum can you build? What kind of progress on a daily basis can you make? How close to the plan, I don't like to say the word perfect because no one's perfect, but how close to executing that plan can you get? And that's what type of expectations that you can set for yourself on a day-to-day basis, right? If you set those realistic, measurable goals, they're going to tie into long-term success, right? Like the ladder analogy. If you're climbing a ladder and your next rung is to go from drinking 3 glasses of water a day to now we're going to start doing some strength training or we're going to start tracking how much protein we eat on a given day, that's fine. That's a good step. But you can't go from, hey, I'm now drinking a little bit more water to I'm doing this hardcore CrossFit class 5 times a week. I'm tracking macros. I'm reporting to a coach. You're doing 20 different things. And because I do that, then I'm going to lose my 50 pounds very short. It doesn't work that way. You can't just skip over all of the small steps that it takes to get there. So the small measurable goals ties into not only, it takes away from the fact of seeing that big term goal right in front of you and allowing it to play out. You get in love with the process of, man, what else can I stack onto these habits? How much better can I be at this one thing that I'm doing, knowing that it's on the path to your big goal? And that brings us to number 6, which is accountability and support. So, of course, this whole thing can be daunting, right? Starting a new fitness routine, adjusting what you're eating, um, tracking your sleep hygiene so that you can sleep better, eliminating toxins from your household. Like all that stuff can be quite, frustrating a little bit. It can be frustrating and it can be daunting. So why would you do it alone? Right? There's tons of people out there that you can either pay for accountability. There's friends and family that can hold you accountable because they want to see you be better. Um, but that's why it often fails, right? If you don't have some type of accountability, you would have to be at an extreme level of discipline um, to get there, right? That's why we need to have a coach. We need to have a mentor or an accountability partner to help us see this through. Now, imagine this, right? You've started at the beginning and you found a plan, right? You're eliminating your emotions. You're just finding these small habits. You're starting to stack them. You're starting to build momentum. You're starting to build belief. All of these things are happening. And now we have someone to check in with us and make sure we don't go off track and get shiny object syndrome or get defeated or whatever. It's a supercharger to your success. You don't need to have accountability, but if you want to ensure success, accountability is the supercharger because just like I said, motivation is fleeting. Well, the opposite end of motivation is a true accountability partner that's going to be honest with you, tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, and keep you on track. So if you have a coach and you paid them to tell you what's going on and how to stay on top of the program, and they're like, hey Johnny, how'd you do this week? Well, I didn't feel that good, and I didn't hit my steps, and I didn't do this. Well, no worries. What happened to make that? What caused you to fall short? How can we make that tweak, and let's stay on track now? It's not a rah rah person who's going to motivate you. You can go online to do that, but again, it eliminates the motivation. It's cold hard facts of what do we need to do to stay on track, and someone who's going to keep you accountable to that, so they're going to track the progress some way, shape, or form. Then that brings us to reframing your setbacks. See, along the journey in life, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have failures, you're going to have things that aren't ideal in the moment. But all of these things are blessings if you're looking at them that way. So that's why we need to reframe all of the things that come in the way as a roadblock and look at them as learning opportunities. And shoot, the more you learn, the more knowledge you're going to have and the more successful you're going to be. So if at the beginning of your health building journey, you just keep struggling and things keep happening, if you're just getting frustrated by that and allowing them to tear you down, that is going to be one of those reasons why you don't hit your goal, right? Why you keep restarting, why you keep having these struggles of getting there. But if we can reframe your mindset towards the setbacks and use them as learning opportunities, well, I mean, that's a game changer right there, right? Something happens, you pause, you don't react to it. You think about, oh, what's this mean? Why am I feeling this way? What are the circumstances that caused this to happen? How can I make an improvement so that next time we don't deal with this, right? Again, we'll use the analogy of tracking our water and our steps. You've got a coach now. You've got a plan. You've got some momentum building, right? And they're like, hey, I want you to get 10,000 steps every day this week because you've stacked your habits up to be at that point. And you don't hit it, right? Something happens. That's a setback, right? You got called into work overtime and you thought you were going to get your steps in after work, but you didn't. Now that's a setback that happens. Instead of saying, "Oh my God, I'm a piece of crap. I couldn't report to my coach that I did my steps that day. I'm a failure. Like I might as well just not even do this program." You could have that train of thought happen, or you could say, what happened there? Well, I told myself that I was going to sleep in the morning and do my steps after work and it would be fine, and that had worked in the past, but because I got called into work overtime, I needed the money because it was the holiday season. So what could I do about it? Well, I knew subconsciously that I should have been working out in the morning and getting my steps done before work so that that was my own free time. There's usually no distractions during that time, And even if I did work overtime, I would have already done my steps and been cool for the day so that I could just go home. Boom. See the difference in those conversations with yourself? I sat down, I figured out what the setback was, I figured out a solution, and then the next week we wake up in the morning and we do it at a different time because we know that things happen after work. We're tired, overtime approaches us, whatever it is, and we don't even have to worry about it. So that problem solved, right? And you just keep doing that every single day. You analyze these setbacks, you find solutions, and you pivot and you keep moving forward rather than beating yourself up, self sabotaging yourself, and stopping the process in its tracks. And then the last one, number 8, is tracking and measuring your success. Now, I've alluded to this throughout the 8 tips here, but I want to reiterate that you've got to measure your success and your progress because the road is long. And if you're not giving yourself some rewards or acknowledgement along the way, it gets pretty frustrating, right? It's like you're never, let's say you had 100 pounds to lose, or you have diabetes and you're trying to reverse that, or something big, right? That's going to take a while. You're telling me in the process of losing 100 pounds, you're not going to give yourself a pat on the back or any acknowledgement the entire way? Like that's pretty lonely, and that can be self-defeating, right? And cause you to go off track, which is what we're talking about today. So when you're tracking these things, your habits, your workouts, your nutritional progress, you can have little rewards. Hey, when I complete 4 weeks of no alcohol, I'm going to treat myself to a good meal, a nice. I'm going to go out to dinner, and I'm going to go to the Capitol Grill because I've never been there, and it's a seems like a great restaurant. I'm going to get a nice steak, right? You set that reward, you attained it, and you held yourself to it, right? So if you're not tracking and measuring your success, how are we ever going to see where the progress is? We're not. And we're not going to be able to celebrate. Just like sports. Imagine watching a basketball game and there was no scoreboard. I mean, you would never pay to go see that. You wouldn't watch it on TV either. You would just see a bunch of guys running back and forth, shooting a ball, dunking a ball. For what? Up, and 60 minutes is up. Time to go home, guys. Clap hands. See you later. Never. The world of sports thrives on the fact that we keep score. So for yourself, how are you going to thrive if we're not keeping score? So I hope these 8 steps helped you guys. And I hope I didn't run through them too fast because there's a lot that you can unpack on each one. But I hope you can see the flow of how they all blend together, where if we have a process and we have a blueprint and we have a coach to guide us through and we have someone holding us accountable and we're tracking our progress and we're eliminating our emotion and just sticking to the plan and doing the things that we need to do, this will be a compounded effect where one habit will stack into 2. A little belief will stack into more confidence. Your results will start to compound because your health is building upon itself. And then months and years down the road, you'll be able to see that and bear the fruit of your labor, right? And it'll all be worth it because you stuck with it. So I hope these habits helped you. If they did, please share this with a friend, right? You can send it to them via text. You can post it on your social media. You can tell someone about it, just talking to them and share them the link. Or the biggest thing that would help me is if you just go apply these things, right? I don't sit in front of the computer for no reason. It is my mission to help people every day learn how to live healthier, build up their confidence, build up their momentum in their health and their fitness and their nutrition and their mindset. So if you could just take something and apply this, and you don't even have to share with me if you're doing it or not, just do it. It's going to have a butterfly effect on the rest of your life. So I thank you guys for taking the time to listen, and I will see you next week. Go crush it out there.